Mexico has long been a haven for poor migrants from Latin America. But this is a story about a group of people who have traveled much further in search of a place to call home. This is where their journey into Mexico begins. It's dawn on the Guatemala side of the Suchiate River. Sometime today, these migrants will board a raft and cross into Mexico. For years, hundreds of thousands of South and Central Americans have made this journey, dreaming of a better life. But now, within that traditional flow of migrants, are people coming from surprising new regions, as far away as Africa and Asia.
They feel not just abandoned, expelled, ignored by a country, a homeland. They come here like orphans.
Padre Flor Maria heads Mexico's Belen shelter for migrants. He sees thousands of migrants every year and is amazed by how many have traveled enormous distances to reach Mexico.
We have welcomed people from as far as Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Nigeria, and then all the Horn of Africa. Many.
And he says he knows why most come to Mexico.
After 9/11, this border, south border, is the only open gate still for all the northern continent.
And that's where many Africans and Asians are heading, to that beacon of prosperity on Mexico's northern border, the United States.
We hope they accept me. We hope they accept us. Still now, we hope.
These two young Eritreans are in transit. Their families paid smugglers a small fortune to bring them halfway around the world to Mexico.
Maybe $20,000.
That's what it cost you so far?
Yes, from Sudan, from my country, till here.
It's unfortunate that people live in such desperate conditions that they actually try to do it, and they spend several lifetime savings.
Hans Hartmark, head of the UN Refugee Agency in southern Mexico, says Africans often pay a high price to get to America.
Which they, in some cases, have to borrow, and they would indebt themselves and their family that stays behind.
You feel loneliness, nostalgia for your people, your land, being far from what you love the most, from the blood of Africa.
African João Ramirez came to Mexico fleeing dangers at home, he says. Ramirez was a soldier in his native Equatorial Guinea, the only Spanish-speaking country in Africa. His troubles began when he and his family joined a political movement opposing the government. João says his mother, father and brothers were assassinated for their opposition, and he was imprisoned and brutally tortured.
I still have scars on my back from electrical burns, just like I have this one which they did with the wire.
João was finally released but had to leave behind his wife and daughters in Africa. He went into exile in Colombia, eventually heading north through Central America, trudging through miles of jungle, sleeping in cemeteries like this one, reminding him of his parents.
I miss my parents. Very much. I miss them more than ever.
Finally, almost 2 years later, he crossed into Mexico by raft, presented himself to Mexican authorities and applied for asylum. Although safe, João says the pain of leaving his children behind was unbearable.
I yearned to have them with me, to hear them, to wake up and see them, to tuck them in at night.
João urged his wife Rosa to sell their house back home to pay the family's enormous travel expenses to meet him. But with his asylum status still in question, Rosa and the girls, with friends' help, had to resettle in the nearby country of Honduras.
They gave me work, but something very sad happened to me there that really marked my life. Sometimes it's very difficult.
Rosa was raped. An astounding 6 out of 10 migrant women are sexually abused.
I feel heartbreak when I remember because a man abused me. It is very sad.
She reported the crime to the police and 2 men were arrested. But after receiving threats from them from jail, she fled, and once again she was on the run. Using false documents, Rosa and her daughters finally got across the border into Mexico. By this time, João had a job teaching English at this high school. And 3 years after leaving Equatorial Guinea, Mexico has granted him asylum. Best of all, after missing so many precious moments with his wife and daughters, João is reunited with his family. 6-year-old Anne and 5-year-old Nancy couldn't be more thrilled. But a cloud hangs over the family. Rosa and the girls have not been granted refugee status.
If we can't stay here, where would we go without papers? Because if they return us to our country, we will be put in jail and they will take our girls away. They will take them and I don't know what will become of them.
For now, Rosa, her girls, and so many other African migrants in Mexico live in limbo. Some sustained by their faith, others by the dream and hope for a better life.